Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let us know where you are joining us from. It's going to be a great show. Today, we're going to be talking about money and mental health and the relationship between the two and how that affects your ability to build wealth. So, we all know that you need time and money to build wealth. So, being in good health saves you money and gives you the time you need to build wealth. So, why is that? That's what we're going to be talking about today, live on Life in the Diaspora. So, like I said, as you join us, please share the video and let us know where you're joining us from. Welcome back to Live in the Diaspora. Like I said, we do appreciate you for joining us. This is a show where we're going to be having real, relatable conversations that are going to enable you build wealth and eliminate debt, right? So you can live the life that you want. We are live every Tuesday, taking into consideration that people don't lose power like I did last week at 7 p.m. Central Time and 8 p.m. Eastern. So please follow our page Beyond Financial Reset on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you can keep up to date on everything that is going on and you will be notified when we go live. Hi, I'm Sylvie. Today, we are going to be talking about mental health and the relationship it has with your ability to build wealth. So, it's going to be a really good show. And first, we want to welcome our audience. So, as you please join us, please share the video and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in the diaspora, then please let us know that you're in the diaspora and you're watching Life in the Diaspora show. And we would also like to know how you're doing. So, what we usually do is brown hearts for I'm doing great, green hearts for I'm not sure, I'm okay, and yellow hearts for I could be doing better. So it's mental health today. And we just, first of all, want to check in with everybody to see how you are doing. All right. So let us know how you're doing. Brown hearts for I'm doing great. Green hearts for I'm just okay. And yellow hearts for I could be doing better. All right, Sally, thank you for joining us. Gillian, thank you for joining us. So, however you're feeling today, I just want you to know that we are sending you so much love and we hope that you are doing amazing. And for those who will be watching it on replay, we're sending you love as well. So, our question today before we get started to you is: does money affect your mental health? What do you think? So, according to the research that money and mental health policy people did, they did say that people in good health earn more money over the course of their lives. Are we surprised by that? Well, we're going to be talking about that with Dr. Sona here in a little bit. They also were able to identify that people with debt and money problems have significantly more health problems and that people with mental health problems are likely to go into debt, and that financial stress makes our money problems worse. Yeah, as if we don't have enough problems, right? From COVID and everything, everything else. So, but aside from the common reasons that, overspending and lack of financial education can cause you to go into debt, a number of great people, uh, okay, a great number of people rather go into debt for health reasons. And this is evident by the fact that we have noticed people filing for bankruptcies a lot due to medical reasons. So, like I said, we're going to be breaking that down with our guest today, who will be talking about the relationship that money has with our health and how that affects our ability to build wealth. So if you would like to eliminate your debt and build wealth, like we talked about, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will receive exclusive tips and daily practical financial tools that we send on our page. So before I bring on a guest, I would want to talk a little bit about her. So Dr. Vivian Sana is a family nurse practitioner who has been working at an outpatient addiction treatment clinic. She has over 6 years of working as a family nurse practitioner, and she recently got her doctorate. Yes, people, doctorate from the University of Arlington. So please help me welcome Dr. Vivian Sana to our live stream. Hello.
Hi, how are you all doing?
We're doing great. I'm doing great. And Sally said she could be doing better. So, but thank you so much for joining us. And before we get started, I just wanted everybody to know that the information that we're talking about today is just our opinions and does not constitute medical advice. So, whatever help you might need mentally, please consult with your medical health provider, okay, to seek treatments. So, Dr. Sana, the very first question I want to ask you, I don't know if everybody else is curious, is why addiction?
Actually, when I graduated from nurse practitioner school, addiction was not what I wanted to do, but addiction kind of find its way to me. I applied for several positions and did not get a job. And one day I was looking on Indeed.com and I saw this company called Clean Slate looking for nurse practitioners, and the most important thing they said was no experience needed. I was straight out of NP school with no experience, so I applied. And when you have no experience, usually it's your personality that gets you a job. So I had a first interview, phone interview, and she was like, the recruiter was like, Vivian, I like you. I want to meet with you. And when she met with me, she hired me with no experience, straight out of nurse practitioner school. And that is how addiction came to me. And I have been working in addiction for 6 years now, and I love it.
Ooh, okay. So that is interesting. And for when Dr. Sana talked about her personality, that's one of the things that, stood out to me prior to me inviting her to be on the show. And we did talk about that because she's very vocal about, the challenges and things that she's been through, something that we often do not talk about. So I really can, I appreciate the fact that she's very open to it. And so people can relate to what she's going through, right? So thank you for that. So when we think about it, dealing with mental disorders can become very overwhelming. And then you have to deal with, people with addiction, and then there's the possibility of relapse. But one thing I noticed is talking to people who deal with mental health patients, they always state the fact that it's very rewarding. So I would like to know what motivates you to show up at work every single day for 6 years.
It is the patient make me get up and go to work, because what I do is delicate. The patient's life is on the line. If I do not show up to work and prescribe their medication, somebody can relapse, overdose, and die.
Mm.
So when I get up in the morning, even when I'm sick, sometimes I do go to work, because my patients, if I don't show up, somebody might die that day. So what I do is very important, because addiction treatment is something, it's one of those diseases, because I want people to identify the fact that addiction is a disease. Some people do not get addicted to substances while others do.
Mm.
So it has to be something that is treatable, and it's a disease that people have. So when I come to work, I take care of these patients, and I see them from the initial visit. You see a broken patient, an individual that is so beat up and broken, and not only broken physically, mentally, broke financially. That's when most people seek treatment, when they are totally broken. And you see the change as you care for them, progress from that beat up women, men, a CEO in a company who has basically lost everything because of their dependence in a particular something. It could be anything, but
Yeah.
I work with opioids and alcohol.
Yeah.
So just that smile that a patient walks in, and you saw them on day one, they were filthy looking, if you don't mind my English, raggedy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see the change. And I've seen patients that they come to see me, and I'm like, who are you? Girls developed, gotten a job, looking good, have makeup on, and the changes, just seeing that is what gets me up every morning to go to
Wow.
work, because the changes that I have seen, the miracles that I have seen, it's it is not something that I can tell you in one day.
I cannot even imagine like you said, people having to pick up themselves from, the bottom, and then you're there holding their hands through it all. So like you said, that's something that, it will motivate you to come to work every day. But then the other thing you said that stood out to me is addiction is a disease. So, and it is not something that, again, in our community, we often talk about, because we maybe for some one reason or the other, we do not identify it as a disease, or we think that people do have the capability of dealing with it on their own. So
Mhm.
I just thought that was really important that you mentioned that addiction was a disease or is a disease.
Yes, it is.
Then now you started doing addiction, you got into the addiction clinic when you were here in the US. What are some things you wish you had known prior to coming to the US about mental health?
Oh my, I wish we knew mental health was a problem,
Mm,
because of course, I'm from Cameroon, and in Cameroon, we do have mad people, and we just know either it's witchcraft or they touched something and they got mad.
mm,
But I remember there's a guy in my village that I grew up with him. He was fine. And then he started, after class 7, because we went to primary school together. After class 7, he started acting kind of different. And his mom also had the same disease. Now that I am all educated and about mental health, I know they do suffer from schizophrenia.
oh,
But back then, um, we didn't know that. It was like witchcraft. Oh yeah, she's that evil woman that was cursed, or that was, yeah. I wish I had known more about mental health disorders, because back in Cameroon, mental health is either somebody gave it to you,
mm-hmm.
some village wizard or witch cursed you, and not knowing it is not, it is hereditary. And I wish I had known that. And looking from the story I just told, the
Mm-hmm.
mom had the same issue. This guy had it. He had a brother who was so intelligent, you would not believe. But later on in life, he too started showing signs and symptoms of the same issue his mom had, and they are all boys. So, boys usually inherit genes from their mom.
Oh,
And they are both guys, and they all struggle through mental health disorder. So I wish I had known a little bit more about it coming to the US, because when I came here, I went to nursing school, became a nurse, and I would see people who had a home and eating healthy and have a life saying they're depressed. And now I'm thinking, it means everybody in my country should be depressed when they've had a degree in 40 years and still living in their parents' house, have never worked. And you have a job, have a family, have everything, and have a car, and it didn't click. It
yeah.
took me several years as a nurse to even understand that depression was a real disease. Because I would look at them and like, man, are you sure you're okay? Because if you walk into my country, everybody should just be
Just-
depressed. No, so yeah, I wish we knew. I knew a little bit more about mental health disorders before I left Cameroon.
yeah,
But I am here, and thank God for education. I have learned a lot
that's right.
about it.
They say you can't change the past, but you can start now and change your future, right?
Yes.
And like you stated, I think that is just across the board in our culture. We like you said, we look at people and like, okay, wait a minute, you have everything you supposedly need. Why are you depressed? And if you say you're down or depressed, then people look at you as if you're a weakling, right? So I
Yes.
think that awareness and education, which is something you're doing right now, is the beginning of us having those conversations with people, and just making sure that we're checking on people and actually listening to them when they say, you know what, I'm not okay. Even when they say I'm okay, sometimes
Mhm.
you still have to check on them. Now, the other thing I noticed was that, work being in outpatient, most of my patients who came in and were struggling with mental problems, so some of them, they also had financial problems.
Problems.
So, so then, I want to ask you, which do you think is harder for people to talk about? Is it talking about money or mental problems? And if you're watching us, let us know which you think is more difficult for people to talk about. Okay, because I think that those are two topics that people don't really want to talk about.
I think both of them are difficult to talk about, but mental health is more difficult because of the stigma.
Mm,
Some people don't even know what they have, and you see somebody calling you a narcissist. It's a real disorder that an individual has, but we will just term it manipulating, or they're just manipulating you.
yeah.
No, it is a disease that needs to be treated. And if you people don't even talk about it, nobody wants to talk about mental health. Money is something that everybody wants to keep private, quite all right, because you don't want to know you don't want anybody to know your financial status.
Yeah.
But I think mental health, most people, and in our African community, not just Cameroonian community, a lot of people do have mental health disorders that they are just pulling through and cannot talk about it because of the stigma. They don't trust who they are talking to, and because they don't want their secret out there. So I usually tell my friends, Vivian, the friend, and Vivian, the healthcare provider, is two different people.
Mm,
If you have an issue, and I tell my friends about addiction and mental health disorders, if your child has a problem and you come to me for advice, for medical help, it is a different person you will meet, not your friend that you know. So most people don't even want to discuss mental health because they don't even trust you that
mm,
they're discussing it. Or she will just go and tell everybody I'm crazy. No. The most important thing, I know the question is about which one is more difficult to talk about. The most important thing, I want somebody out there to know that even though you know us as people in your community, as a healthcare providers, we are completely different. And thank God we are in the United States. We do have something called HIPAA. If
Mm.
you tell me something about your health, it is going nowhere but me. And so people will be able to talk about mental health because people can talk about their money, but if they are going through depression, or they have depression and they're on medications, and the medication is not working, and they know something is not right, but they can't even discuss with your friend that is a nurse practitioner who can give them sound health care advice. They
Yeah.
will just sit there, swallow it, and struggle and suffer.
In silence.
And so I tell everybody, please, when you're coming to Vivian for medical advice, you will meet a different person from the Vivian you probably know on Facebook or in parties on the streets, because it is business when it comes to somebody's health. And yes, mental health is more difficult to talk about
Oh,
than money.
than money. Oh.
Mhm.
Well, Gillian says, thank you for instilling that confidence because, like you said, people, because they know you, don't want to reach out for help. And I would like to dive into a little bit deeper into, who we should be reaching out to help for. And Pandora said, mental health is more difficult due to the stigma of being mentally ill.
Mentally ill.
It's always witchcraft. Ooh, wow.
Yep, I touched on that earlier. It's always witchcraft. No,
No,
it is
guys,
not.
naturally.
Mental health disorders, it is a disease. Depression is a disease. Bipolar is a disease. Schizophrenia is a disease,
Mm.
just like cancer. Just like I said, addiction is a disease. And please, we need to educate our community that these are disorders that can be treated successfully. Mental health in our African community, in the diaspora, is a big issue
Yeah.
because we have so many people going through a lot, just living in a strange land.
Hmm.
Imagine you're in the United States alone, no other family member, all of your family is in Africa, and you have to deal with the finances. And then on top of that, all your bills, family members are asking from Africa. Yes, you will be depressed
Oh.
because you're looking at your friends who have. I'm the youngest of 10 children.
Hmm.
If I am a doctor, so you can imagine what my sisters and brothers are. I had no responsibility. My only responsibility is my family.
Mm.
Imagine somebody wanting to look at my life and be like, oh, why? You will be depressed
Yeah.
because my responsibility is so much smaller than somebody who is the first in
Oh.
their family.
Oh.
And in diaspora trying to make a living. So we need to understand that yes, it is a disorder, and just the struggles and just the society we are in can cause you to have mental disorders that are treatable. Hereditary mental disorders are different from mental health disorders that are treatable just from the struggles that you're going through.
True. So that is interesting that you mentioned the fact that when you have mental problems, or when your situation is personal to you, and that is something that we also talk about in finances, right? So when you're looking at your personal finance, and that's the reason we call it personal finance, you have to look at your
Your
situation. Just like you
situation.
said, your only responsibilities are your family. So somebody cannot, like we say in finances, take the same risk as somebody who has more financial responsibility. And the fact that you likened it to mental health, speaks volumes, because you have also said mental health, can be is a source of stress for people who already have that disease, and now they have to deal with the stigma and everything else associated with it. Now when we compound that with money problems,
Mm.
that that can definitely exacerbate the condition, right?
That breaks you. It breaks you completely.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to somebody who is, has mental problems and now is overwhelmed with debt?
What I would say is the whoever said health is wealth knew what they were talking about.
Hmm.
Treat your health first, because we are in the diaspora. depending on the country we are in, I will always go towards the United States where healthcare is not free.
Mm-hmm.
Treat yourself so you can be productive. If you are not mentally stable, you cannot work. You will quit every job you have, even if it is the best and most paying job in the world. If you are not sound in the mind, you cannot make wealth, you cannot acquire wealth. So treat your mental health first and then get on your finances, because when you have a sound mind, you everything is clearer. I have patients, my patients tell me, oh my goodness, since I started taking this medication, I think better. I don't have this fog on me. It's like something cleared up. I had one telling me she was driving on the freeway and could see her future right in front of her. She had not seen that in 5 years.
Yeah.
So treat your health, any form of health. Today we are talking about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
If you have diabetes is an expensive disease. If you do not treat it and control it, you will not be able to work. Because if your blood sugar is going up and down, you'll be in the hospital acquiring debt. So
Mm.
you have to control your health. So you are in a healthy place before you can even save a dime. If
Wow.
you are not healthy, you cannot save money.
Well, somebody type it in the comments. Dr. Sona said health is wealth. She's just echoing, a lot of what has been said. And like the study that I mentioned prior to us starting this show, that people who are in sound health make more money, and you just testified to that by saying, of course they're going to spend more money trying seeking treatment
Paying for help.
if you're not if you're not in sound mind. So
Mhm.
again, the takeaway here is health is
It's
wealth.
wealth.
So now there are people who actually have identified, I need help, right? But they are not sure what to do or what steps to take. What would you tell them?
Firstly, they do have, like in the US, they do have resources that you can seek mental health, and it's private, and you can call in. I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area. There are several resources. Sometimes Google is your friend. Don't Google only the bad things. Google the good things, like mental health treatment. And a lot of people do think they just want to put me on a pill. No, there's psychotherapists. A lot of Africans are not used to therapy. Sometimes just talking to somebody and telling them what you're feeling can help you. You don't necessarily have to get on medication. I do believe in medication management
Yeah.
because it is effective, but sometimes just seeking help. They have so many resources. They have in the US, I think, or is it in Texas? They have the MHMR that you can seek help. You can call their hotline. You can just type in Google, any search engine, seeking for help, mental health help, and something will pop up, and call the number. And all of them are not confidential, as long as they don't start asking for your social security number. They're confidential. You talk to them, and they will refer you. Usually, those resources have they have resources where they'll refer you to providers that provide the various help that you will need. If you honestly tell them the problem you're having, you will get you once you call the toll-free numbers, the hotlines, and they'll help you. They have the suicide prevention. They have everything. Depression hotline, the addiction hotline. That's how patients come to me. They have different resources. You just have to type in your problem and see what pops up, and call the number, and then get help. Because to be well from mental health disorders, you have to be treated.
Yeah.
It could be either medication assisted therapy or psychotherapy, which is both work. To combine is even better.
Yeah. So, oh my God, Dr. Summers, she's talking about a lot of useful stuff here. And, what we gotta is you need to reach out for help so you can get the help that you need.
That you need.
So, in like Sally's saying, mental health does
Mental health
direct.
directly affects productivity.
So,
True. Yeah, that's true, Sally.
mhm. So if you're not well, then you're not going to be able to show up at work and do what you need to do so you can make the
No,
money to live the
no,
life
ma'am.
want, right?
Yeah.
So then there are other people who are so paralyzed by the mental problems that they cannot even, reach out for help like we're asking them to. And like I stated before, this does not constitute professional advice. This is just our opinion. So please reach out to your mental health provider if you're having any mental issues and need treatment. Okay, so Dr. Sana is just giving her opinion about it. She doesn't directly treat you, so we cannot consider this as professional medical advice, but she's here to share her knowledge with us. So I'd like to know from the audience, when you're having a bad day and you're not able to help yourself, what do you want others around you to do? How can others help you? And if Dr. Vivian can shed light on how we can reach out or help those people who cannot reach for help or seek help, how do we show up for them?
I tell people, I said, you don't have to talk all the time. Listen, to and look, because sometimes somebody's seeking for help without saying a word, and we are so busy with our own personal issues and our own life, and we don't see um, that the person is seeking for help.
Mm.
So we have to be vigilant with our friends. Um, Sometimes some throw tantrums. Some grown-ups do throw tantrums, temper tantrums, and it could be seeking help. Some just get frustrated with you, and they might be trying to tell you something that you're not paying attention.
Mm.
So, but the most important thing I'll tell anybody, if you don't voice what your problem is, nobody can guess.
Mm.
So if you have to find that one person that you have confidence in, and talk to them and see what they can advise you or help you with. So I will always go back to, please, if you do have any thoughts, any issues that you think, no, you know what, I'm not supposed to be thinking like this, do seek help, because you might be sitting there and we've all concluded, oh no, she's just the quiet one, not knowing what you're going through. So you have to tell somebody, you have to find that one person that you can tell, because that is the only way we will actually know what you're going through.
Yeah.
But please do look at your friends, and you can know that you can know a friend who's changed, you can tell they are going through something, but you cannot really touch that thing, and just ask them, hey, is there anything I can do for you?
Oh.
Doesn't necessarily mean they have to do for you all the time. Ask, "Hey, what can I do for you? What can I, just to help out on anything?"
Mm-hmm.
And I have been a parent with me and my husband with our son, and we had no babysitter because he was afraid of everybody. If somebody had even offered us babysitting help, we would have been really happy, and not. I almost laughing had a second child because I'm still traumatized from the first one. So
I'm
sometimes
telling you, please
just
take this baby.
offering help.
Yes.
And once you offer, like, what can I do for you? And the person will be like, oh my goodness, I need a babysitter. Can you take care of my child? Just so I cannot see them for 8 hours. I think I'm developing hatred for my child, and which is also a mental health disorder.
Yeah.
But it's just because you need a break, and you are in the diaspora. You don't have your mom that you can go drop off the kid. You are the only one here. So sometimes just offer, what can I do for you? What do you need me to do for you? And you'll be surprised how many people will tell you what their problem is when you offer.
So yeah, so a couple of things you did mention. We need to listen. Make sure we're listening. I always add from a place of empathy to
Mhm.
understand what the other
What
person
they're
is
going
going
through.
through.
Yes.
And then you mentioned that we need to be present
Mm.
for our friends. So, and then the other thing you also mentioned is that we should offer help to people, whether or not they need it. So
Mhm.
that just reminds me of one time I wasn't feeling my best, and one of my friends called me and said, How are you doing? Normally, when somebody asks you, how are you doing? What do you say? I'm fine.
Fine.
And then she said, how are you really doing?
Doing.
This is me talking. That was so profound for me because it was like I'm not talking just I'm not just asking. I really want to know how you're doing. So like you said, having that support system and people that you
Mhm.
can trust to talk to,
Mhm.
that is very important. And us checking on our
From
friends
our
or
friends.
on each other is also very important. So you had already mentioned that there's a lot of stigma that surrounds mental health. So people with mental problems are most likely not going to seek help, even if they're having financial problems. So we can see how that's going to spiral down to affect their finances because they might not have the right financial education, or
Mhm.
they might not be able to balance their checkbooks to do what they need to do. Right. So, how important is it for mental health patients to not only seek help from the right people, but to have the right providers who can direct them and treat them and tell them what they need to do to be able to maintain their health?
It is very important that
Mm,
you because you, for first of all, when you're seeking looking for a provider, okay, you have to look for someone who listens to you, because so many providers are protocol oriented. This
mm,
is the protocol to treat hypertension. This is the protocol to treat depression. This is the protocol. They don't listen to you because you've given them two, three things that sound like depression. They're ready to treat it.
mm,
Sometimes it's just a lot of patients come to treatment because you are the only one they can talk to. I
mm,
have had situations where a patient tells me, you are the only one I can talk to. They don't
mm,
have any other person they can talk to. So, seeking a provider that listens to you doesn't just treat you because you came and you've paid your copay or you've paid your $150 that they require. Look for a provider that will listen to you and take care of your needs. A provider that provides individualized care,
ooh,
care that applies to you and you alone. It is not like a broad spectrum where everybody that looks like depression should be treated like this.
mm,
Everybody that looks like they have bipolar one should be treated like this. No,
mm,
every look for a provider that treats you as an individual and takes care of you as an individual. And
oh,
it's easy to know when a provider listens to you and treats you as an individual, not everybody in what that bracket, depression, this is what we do. So do seek a provider that listens to you.
wow. So that was going to be my next question is, what three things that we should look for when choosing a mental health provider? And there
I can answer that three things to look for.
so before we dive into that, it's just like when you're talking, I hope people are liking it, seeing how related the mental health is to your finances. Because
Mhm,
when people go out to seek financial help, we usually tell them make sure you're talking to somebody who understands your financial situation.
mhm.
Like your personal finances, actually takes a look at your personal finances, like you said, individualized care, right?
Individualized care.
Before they give you any recommendations. And also somebody who shares the values that you do. So it also ties in with that individualized care because if you do not take the time to things that you have reiterated many times on this platform to listen, you're not going to be able to form a treatment plan that is perfect for that
For
patient.
that patient, because
So,
so much of my job is listening. What if it's you I have been with patients who you listening to them and sitting quiet, they resolve the problem they came to you with just by talking to you and figuring out, like, no what, just by just listening to them. A lot of talking is going on, but we need to learn to listen
listen.
to
So
people.
let's listen to our audience. Let's start by listening to our audience here. So we have a Pandora said, one thing I usually tell my patients when they're reluctant to get help, I always ask them this question: if your blood pressure is high, won't you take medication to help you lower it? It's the same for mental health.
Yes, for
So,
every disorder. That's what I tell my patients. Oh, Suboxone is I think it's addictive. And I ask them, so if you had diabetes, would you stop taking your medication because you've been in treatment for 2 years? No.
mhm.
If the issue has not resolved, you cannot stop taking your medication, because the moment you stop taking that medication, I promise you, you will relapse.
Wow. And then Martina said, thanks so much. I have seen and talked to many people who are in denial. So,
That is a big issue we have in mental health. A lot of people are in denial. They cannot believe, oh my God, I'm depressed. Really? No, 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 no. I cannot be. Come on now. How can I be depressed?
yeah,
But yeah, depression it knows no face. It comes, and it comes in different ways. There's postpartum depression. You have a baby and you're supposed to be the happiest person in the world, since society says having a child is all that a woman needs. And
mm,
now you have that baby and you're looking at the baby like, really?
yeah,
And you're not feeling love. That is depression. That's postpartum depression. And people need to know that it is existent and there's treatment for it. So we have a lot of learning and education as hell, because I can see my sister Veronica
yes,
Fortu just said something. Yes, we are so many of us out here who can educate our community, and we need to get out and start doing that, because our community needs. We do have a lot of people who are here in the diaspora who still don't know anything about mental health. We
mm,
are in the healthcare field, that's why we know about it. But there are so many people who work in finances, people who are accountants, engineers. They don't have a clue that, hey, I might be feeling this way because I have this disorder that is a mental health disorder. And once they start even coming close to thinking, after they've watched a few videos on YouTube or Google and look Google symptoms, they go into panic mode. Oh my God, I'm crazy. No, you're not. You just
yeah.
have a disorder that needs treatment.
And Dr. Fortu also, she asked a question. She's a fellow mental health provider. She's asking, how do you differentiate between mental health and spiritual health? Because most Africans tend to associate their mental health issues to spiritual attacks. Oh, pray on
Dr. Fortune, please. I am a Christian, but I believe in their spiritual attacks. I truly don't want to go against what my Bible is, but I personally know there's evil and there's good, there's spiritual and there's physical. So there can be spiritual attacks, but not all mental health disorders are spiritual attacks. Some of them are just mental health disorders that needs to be treated, but they do have spiritual attacks. When I'm a Christian, and I know when there comes you in your life, when you're seeking something and you realize it's like there's this force that is fighting against you being good, and I term that demonic attack.
Mm,
But 99% of the issues we have is not spiritual, it is physical. And it's physical on earth, not some spirit world or spirit just making you have all the issues you have. Sometimes you have to look internally and look deep in yourself and be like, okay, these problems I'm having, is it spiritual, or I'm just blaming it on spirits?
yeah. So she further says the reality is that until we can actually draw the line with our people, many of them will hide behind Christianity
Christianity,
not to
not
seek
to
help.
seek medical help.
It's,
That
I
is
mean,
very true.
those who are Christians, which I am, they say give to Caesar what is Caesar's, right? And
Yes, sir.
to God what is
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
so I mean, there's a reason like you said, identifying, your symptoms is the beginning of getting the help that you need. And you cannot take a broken car to the bakery. No,
Mhm.
you need to take a car that's not working to the
The
mechanic.
mechanic.
So that's why it's important that you identify the right provider. Do you need
Yes.
a pastor or do you need a mental
A
health?
mental health provider. Mhm.
So, which is the other, we go back to the question. So, what are the three things that we should be looking for when we go seek a mental health provider? How do we know this person is the person that is going to be taking adequate care of us?
Okay. The first thing, it comes in part. I have three different things and I'll list them. The first thing you have to, when you're seeking mental health, you need to verify the provider's education,
Mm.
where they got their training, their
Education.
licenses, and how many years they've been in practice. I'm not saying inexperience is not a good thing, but usually an experienced mental health provider will have has results. Secondly, you need to research their treatment approach and philosophy.
Mm.
If a mental health provider is one that only likes, let me just pop the pill and just shut the patient up, and does not follow the therapy, maybe therapy. I am the person where I tell my patients, I will not increase your medication until you are seeking therapy, and then we will know what happens after that. And thirdly, we are in the United States. Healthcare is expensive. The cost of the provider.
Mm.
Please do not go to somebody that Michael Jackson is going to because they treated Michael Jackson well. It is expensive. Go for the cost of what, if a provider is charging $1,000 for the same services that somebody else is charging for $100.
Wow.
Do check the cost of treatment because you will be bankrupt. We are talking about mental health and financial health.
Yeah.
If you are bankrupt, you have more mental health problems than so you have to know the cost of treatment. Look at the doctors, call them, and ask how much does it cost me for therapy. It is expensive, unfortunately, if you do not have health insurance in the United States. In other countries like Canada and the UK and Europe, where they provide free health care for their citizens. But in the United States, if you do not want to, let me use the word loosely, lose your mind, it is seeking treatment, and you go to a rehabilitation facility and you come out and they send you a bill for $50,000. My mom was in the ICU for 3 days and I received a $150,000 bill.
Wow.
Yes, I was supposed to you that just sends you into depression, and financial health is
Yes.
will affect your mental health. So
Wow.
you need to look at the cost of treatment before you go into it.
Wow. So yeah, somebody should please type out these things in the comments for those who, who will be watching later as well. Because you did mention that we need to check on the qualification of the
Mhm.
provider. So the education licenses, how many years they've been in practice.
The
And we need
treatment approach
the
and
treatment
philosophy,
approach and
mhm,
the philosophy and the
the
cost of
cost.
treatment. So yes, those are really important things that we need to take into account. And like you said, the mental health and the finances, they can go hand in hand, because when you're also searching for somebody to deal with your finances, these are the things you want to be checking. So the
Mhm.
qualification, for those who are talking about insurances, their licenses, and
Yes.
just making sure that their philosophy, the world building philosophy, ties in with the financial philosophy and the values that you share, and then the cost as well, right? So you're not spending all your money trying to build wealth. So again, people, we're here bringing our education to you, the things that we know about mental health and how it relates and affects your finances. And Dr. Vivian has already said, if you are not mentally stable, then it's going to cost you
A
more.
lot of money. Mhm.
So, and
Mhm.
And Jay had made a comment. He said, Doctor, it has been said that people can overcome their lows by shopping. So ordering from Amazon or from their favorite store until they can charge and can't charge anymore for to their credit cards. So can that provide a lasting benefit to someone who is going through some mental issues?
No, it cannot. Shopping will never help your mental health. That is you just trying to mask the problem. If you, first of all, we do have mental health disorders that cause you to shop. Like when you're in your manic phase, you think you're a celebrity and you start shopping and buying expensive things. No, shopping is not. It's a bad habit that you need to stop. Do not shop and think it will make you happy. No, it will not. If you have an issue, you have to deal with the issue. You do not shop to fix it. It will not fix. You're causing more issues because now you will be paying credit card debts for the rest of your life, and interest at 35% is like you pay your minimum payment. You will never finish paying a $1,000 credit card. You will pay it for 22 years and you will still not be done. So do not shop. If you have issues, take care of the problem you have. Don't go shopping and adding more problems, because yes, we do love credit cards, but do not
Yeah.
use it for emergencies.
And I think you touched on this a little bit when you talked about how shopping, when people are in their money phases, they can go shopping. Because Jay is asking, do you think that being good mentally can cause you to being not good, right? Mentally can cause you to take financial risks that can damage you.
Yes.
So
Yes. 1 minute. That's my son. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Mommy calls, mommy duty. You gotta take care of it, right?
Yeah. So yes. If you're not mentally healthy, you make bad choices. Period. It doesn't matter if it's boyfriend. It doesn't matter if it's shopping. You do make bad choices until you fix the issue, the mental problem that you have. You will not make good choices. If you look at some women who go into bad relationships, same kind of bad relationship over and over again, they need to sit down and look at their mental health. Because if A did this to you and then you left A and went to B, does the same thing. It means there's something that you haven't figured out. So yes, your mental health, if it is not healthy, you will make bad choices, period.
All right. So make sure you take care of your health. So you can take care of your wealth. Not take, in this situation, because we're talking about money, financial risks that are going to cost you down in the long run. Okay. And then Martina also said that support groups can help.
Can also help. Support. The one thing that people don't understand, for everything, mental health, weight loss, support groups are very successful. That is why Weight Watchers is a very good weight loss program, because you have a support group, and then they have something that they do weekly. You go and weigh in. Just the fact that you're anticipating that somebody else is looking at your weight, you make sure you lose weight that week just to impress them. So that's how support system works. So if you have a support group where you have somebody who's gone through your same experience, they will kind of tell you what they did, and from their experience you can kind of help yourself. So support group is very important when in any mental, that's why they do have psychotherapy, not just individualized. They have group therapy and they have individual therapy. Both really work, because the individualized therapy, the therapist is taking care of you as an individual, and group therapy is different. So you do get information from other patients who give you how they've tackled certain problems they've had, and then you use their experiences, and because experience is always a good teacher, you can use their experience to kind of help yourself.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned the support groups, facilitating us getting to a better mental state. Because when we look at our community, it's always like when you're suffering from something or dealing with something, you have to hide it. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want the next person to know. But then here
Mhm.
you are telling us that if you were going through a challenge, you got to reach out to people who have been there before, right? So they can be able to hold your hand and motivate you so you do the things you need to do to get to that state of being mentally whole.
Mhm.
So I think that that's really important that people take away from this is it's not everything you have to keep to yourself.
Yes.
It's
And
okay to talk.
the one thing I want to tell our community is that there comes a time when we have to grow up and be our sister's keeper. We've all gotten to the point where we don't feel for each other, and we've kind of become immune to people's feelings. So we have to learn to just empathize with people and their pain, and be there for them, because mental health is real in our community. And you can tell that a lot of our friends and family members do have the problem, but they don't have confidence in us.
Mm.
So if you are the confidant to that one person, please, when they come to you, can you just shut up and
It's like
shut
growing up, right?
up? Mhm.
When they always
So
told us, if you don't have anything nice to say,
don't say it.
you know.
And we all have to grow up, and we all have to learn that we are now in a society where mental health is real, and your actions can destroy somebody's mental health. um, I think that was what I learned when I got into my mid 40s, and I am going to work on being that better person, because I have also hurt some people's mental health status. So we just have to all grow up and try to be better as a
Right.
community,
Yeah.
and help our sisters and brothers, because honestly, Cameroonians in America, a lot of them have mental health disorders that they cannot even tell you. And then worse yet, so many of us are providers that you will see somebody walk into a clinic, and then you pass by and they see you and they walk out,
Mm.
because they are like, oh my God, there's a Cameroonian there. And unfortunately, so many of us are in healthcare. So we have to instill that trust in our community, that, hey, when you come to me as Vivian, the nurse practitioner, it is different from Vivian, the individual on the street. So our people can seek help, because we do need the help, and we have a lot of issues in our community.
Wow. And I love the way you put it. I love the way you're looking at it, identifying that, we're all a work in progress. Like you said, you're trying to do better, and that to help people, you need to start from doing better yourself,
Yourself,
so
yes.
that people can see the change in you and then be able to approach you and be able to come to you and talk to you about whatever challenges that they might be facing. And
Mhm.
above it all, even if you're not a mental health provider, just choose to be kind.
Yes.
Just come from a place of kindness, because like you said, you sometimes see people who are struggling. Unfortunately, we have social media now, and everybody can type whatever they want to type on it. But then you see some of the comments on that people write, you don't know what somebody is going through.
Through, yes.
So just like you said, come from a place of kindness. Even if you go wrong, people will be more forgiving, right? Because your intentions
We're
were kind
good.
and good.
Mm.
So thank you for sharing that. And for those who are watching, Dr. Vivian said, moving here on out, she's gonna try to reach out to people and choose her words. So I just want to know, for those who are watching, what is one thing that you're going to take away from this show? Because we don't want you to just come to the show, watch it, and leave. Hopefully, we're inspiring and empowering you to be better people and live better lives in the diaspora. So let us know, what is one thing that you think you can do moving forward to help somebody who is struggling mentally, or that you are going to commit this week to do to your friend. What is one thing? And like she said, she said, when the Weight Watchers, right, when you check in, it keeps you accountable. So when you put that in the comments, it's going to keep you
It's gonna
accountable.
keep you accountable. Yes, ma'am.
So, so let us know in the comments what you are committing to do this week to help a friend, somebody in need who is struggling mentally, or if you have a mental problem, what you are choosing to do differently this week. Let us know in the comments. While Dr. Vivian is going to tell us one thing that she wants us to take away from this show today about mental health and managing money.
I want everybody to know that with when your mental health is stable, you will be able to manage your money, because it's this body that makes the money. For most people, it is the mind that makes the money. You have to have the thought. If yours is distorted, you will not be able to make the money. So my takeaway is, please take care of your mental health, and your financial health will fall in line.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Vivian. Before you head out, I think there's a question for you here. How does one approach a family member with a mental illness that they are trying to hide, especially when it is obvious to everyone?
Um, just show them empathy, listen to them, and do build trust. If I don't have confidence in you, I'm gonna continue hiding the problem from you. So you have to kind of get their trust, so they can trust you enough to tell you if they have a problem, and then you offer help, and make sure when you offer the help, you follow up on the fact that offered the help, and he or she got the help that you offered. Because you just telling them to do this does not necessarily mean they will do it. You have to follow up on them and make sure, and you following up on them will know you care, and that's building more trust
Yeah.
in that relationship. So do listen to them, and let them trust you, because if they don't trust you, they won't tell you.
Yeah.
Even if you are there for 25 years, they still won't tell you. They have to trust you first.
Wow. So yeah, building trust, and that is something that we had to learn the learn the hard way. Because
Mhm.
for us, when we started, we found this information about our finances. We just went about shoving it down people's throats, like you gotta
You gotta do this
like, how come you don't know this? And sometimes just because you think people need help doesn't mean that they're ready to receive it.
to receive help. There
Like
you
you
go.
said, we have to make sure that we give them the time they need to process that information, and
Mhm.
then make sure that we are showing up as trustworthy individuals, so people
Yes.
can be able to come to us when they need help and always be available, right, by following up.
Yes.
So thank you
Yes.
so very much for that information, and for all the useful nuggets that you have shared with us. And like we said, we're going to say this again. This is Dr. Vivian's opinion that she is sharing. She doesn't have any of your profiles here to treat you. So if you do need professional medical help, please make sure you check in with your mental health or your provider. Okay. So, Dr. Vivian, thank you so very much. And other people are thanking you as well before you head out. And we hope that we can get you back on the show. So, a lot of great feedback and people loving you being on the show. So,
Oh, I do appreciate it, and I am going to convince her to kind of get a show that is strictly on addiction,
yes.
because I just found out a lot of Cameroonians in Cameroon are addicted to heroin,
Oh,
and I did not even know heroin was in Cameroon. But yes, I will tell you all, it is called Thailand.
Mm,
That's what they call it. Kids smoking, and they become dependent on it. So we need to educate our people about addiction.
yeah,
So it was a pleasure
it
being
was.
here, and I really did enjoy sharing a little bit of what I know, and hope somebody learned something.
Yeah. Well, we learned plenty. Thank you so very much, Dr. Vivian.
Thank you.
So, people, thank you so much. That is all we have for the show, and I hope that you learned quite a bit from what Dr. Vivian was sharing with us. So, please share this video with others so that they can get the information as well. And make sure that you are following us on Beyond Financial Reset so that you can be able to get information when we're going to come live. And if there's a topic that you want us to talk about, something that affects or being able to build a wealth, please let us know. You can always send us an email at beyondfinancialreset um, at gmail.com. Okay. So thank you so very much for coming. Like, we hope that you have a great week. And please always choose to be kind. Bye.